Welcome back to my channel. My name is Stacey Flowers, and in this video I'm going to be sharing with you my Sunday routine. So if you are interested in that, please keep watching. So this video was inspired because so many of you all have been asking me about my productivity, about what my life looks like now that I work for myself part-time, running my own company. And I thought, what better way to sort of share that with you all than to show you what a typical Sunday looks like for me. I'm gonna put a disclaimer out there too, because I'm not a regimented person. I'm a very go with the flow type person, but my Sunday routine sets me up to be able to be that way. And I think a really big misconception is that people who are planners are very like but the reality is like the more planning you do, the more room you have to be able to be very flexible with what you do with all that other time. It's kind of like a budget where as soon as you tell your money where to go, you have all this other extra money. It's like when you plan, you have all this extra other time. So there's not a set specific time that I do this routine. I just know that when I get to these 7 things on a Sunday, my next week is going to be like super productive. And even if it's not like an awesome week emotionally because I'm just dealing with stuff from therapy, it's still a week that I'm prepared to go into and manage in a really awesome way. So without further ado, these are the 7 things in my Sunday routine. First thing in my Sunday routine is pampering. And what I do in my pampering routine, it's really just 4 things. I cut my hair. I told you guys that I cut my hair, and that is a choice that I've made to reduce expenses in my budget. And so every Sunday I cut my hair. And I really, in addition to cutting my hair, I'll give myself a little scalp massage. I really try to get in there and as much as possible recreate the salon experience. And so I like doing it on Sunday because I take my time, versus before I would just cut my hair whenever I needed it. But now that I have it in the routine, I just find that I'm able to be a little bit more indulgent and it's just better that way. So I cut my hair. If I do any shaving, I'm not a particularly hairy person, so I don't have to shave very often. So maybe every 2 to 3 weeks, I'll shave my legs and stuff like that. But if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it on a Sunday where I'm just really laying on the pampering and whatnot. So I'll shave my legs, and then I'll do some deep moisturizing of my skin in terms of just lathering on the lotions, the oils, and just different things like that. Do that every Sunday just because I want my skin and stuff to be soft. I like being soft and smooth skin. And then I also do my nails, clean things up, make them look nice. And then last but certainly not least, I will do a facial, and my facial consists of the same skincare products from my skincare video. The only thing that I add is I'll steam boiling hot water, put my face over it, open up my pores, wash my face really good, and then moisturize and everything just like before. So that's the first thing that I do in my Sunday routine. And it just the second thing that I have in my Sunday routine is a review. And the review is literally, I will sit down and I ask myself several questions to reflect on the previous week. And I love this. I'm naturally a journaling girl. You guys know that I track my progress through reflections, but my week review is really, I just think it's a really powerful exercise. I recommend it. I have several questions that I ask myself, but I wanted to share in this video just a couple of the questions so you guys can get an idea of where my head goes when I'm doing my review. And one of the number 1 questions that I ask myself is, what was the best thing about this week? And I have to, no matter how bad I thought the week was, I have to find what I think is the best thing about the week. And a part of this is just because I always want to be in a place of gratitude. Gratitude reminds you that you have more than enough, right? When you can't find anything to be grateful for, that's when scarcity, lack, desperation comes in. And I know real desperation because I remember being there. And then I know this sort of illusion desperation that you just created in your mind because you're not grateful for the things that you have around you. And so I ask myself, I look for the best thing that happened in this week. And for me, collectively, that means that I have 52 weeks of kind of best things happening, when I look back on the journaling experience. And I just find that question it keeps me set. It just keeps me full for moving into the week. And then the other question that I ask myself that I think is a powerful question is, did I honor my values this week? And I think that that question is so important because you shouldn't be living for me or what I recommend. You shouldn't be living for your parents, spouse, pastors, teachers, kids. You should be living for your values. And if you have been doing that, likely a lot of the people in your life will line up with your values. But it's not always like that. And a lot of the sometimes stress and discomfort that we have in our life is because we're not living our values. We're living someone else's values because they keep telling us what they value by trying to change us or encourage us to go in a particular direction. And so checking in every week, just like, did you honor your values this week? And if the answer is no, then I write, okay, why? What happened? What can I do differently? And then if the answer is yes, I say, okay, why? How can we do more of this? Because I find and I believe that the more I honor my values, the more I will be myself. And there's no better, greater person on the planet for me to be than myself. The third thing that I do in my Sunday routine is I plan. And it's so interesting because at the top of this year, I did a planning series where I showed you like how I plan the year, the month, the week, the day. And I went through all of that, and I still have not been able to find a planner that I liked this year. And I was really frustrated by it, but then I was just like, I'm just gonna let it go and I'm just gonna make my own planning system. And so that's what I did. And so I've just made my own planning spreads because I'm usually able to find something, but there was always just a little something, like I didn't like the cover, I didn't like the layout, and I was just like, well, maybe it's just time for you to make your own. So that's what I did. And so I have my monthly, and so I'll always glance at my monthly, but the real like technology of my planning system is in my weekly and my dailies. And a lot of people ask me like how to manage time and how to get more done and different things like that. And one of the things that I've realized that has always been the secret to my productivity is that I am super task focused. And so I get a lot done and I'm able to do a lot because I don't try to manage time. I just manage my priorities. And in me managing my priorities, I'm able to break those into tasks. And then I'm able to see, well, how many of these tasks can I get done? So I don't try to manage time because it doesn't belong to me. I manage my tasks. I manage my priorities because those belong to me. And what I found is that in doing that, it allows me to have so much more time to be able to do the things that I want. So I do that planning as the third thing, and then after I get finished planning, I will go into cleaning. And this cleaning is a lot, it's like deeper cleaning than what I do on a day-to-day basis. I'm not a dirty person, but I'm also not a super tidy person, if that makes sense. So like, I will never let anything be filthy, but I don't like doing the dishes. So sometimes what will happen is, because I'm eating beans and rice and oats every day, I'll rinse that out and I'll just keep using the same one over and over again. And it's maybe not until Sunday that I actually like wash all the dishes that I've used and like wipe down the sink and stuff like that and like sanitize things. So it's just a deeper, refreshing sort of a clean that I do. Open up all the windows. I have windows that line one side of my studio. I live in a studio. You guys know I don't have an air vent, so smells can get trapped in here, and I just find that letting in that fresh air is like the best decision that I've ever made in my entire life every single time I do it. And so I leave that open, just get things refreshed. I dust everything. I just do all of the things that will really allow my house to just feel like, for the week it's ready for whatever the week has to throw at it. So the fifth thing that I do in my Sunday routine is I prep. And I prep my food for the week. And so that may mean like preparing my crock pot for like the beans and stuff that I'm gonna prepare the next day. It may be, me portioning out the oats. I just kind of look at the food that I have and I think through what I'm planning to eat for that week. The other thing that I've been starting to do is prepping my clothes, because one of the things I love to do is get dressed every morning. But I found that transitioning to working for myself part-time in my own company and not having a uniform to wear to go to work, I wasn't getting as dressed as often because I didn't feel like I had clothes to wear, because I was wearing my own real clothes every day. And that was sort of like messing up just how I showed up, and I just was like, I'm looking a little frumpy. I don't like that. So I like to prep my clothes, and in me prepping, that means if something needs to be washed or anything like that, I go ahead and take care of that. But also prepping is me thinking through my outfits for the first 5 days of the week. So it's like, okay, what am I going to wear on Monday? What am I going to wear on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? And that may seem like a lot, but I just like to look nice. And I'm not naturally a person who loves fashion and style, and I find that in order to look nice, taking a few extra minutes on Sunday really enables me to just be like, all right, I'm a look good. Next week, I'm gonna look so good. So it's kind of like, it's just really like a refreshing thing, and it allows me to be able to appreciate my clothes and really connect with what my personal style is, and building out my capsule wardrobe and just really honoring that system, which is something that I just think the capsule process is just something that totally works for me. So so something that I want to point out too, in terms of me developing a Sunday routine and actually figuring out what worked for me, is that I was able to figure out the stuff that worked for me and realize that it was really important to my overall health and well-being, because I actually started talking to a therapist and I started to get the actual professional help that I needed for what was going on with me mentally and emotionally and psychologically. I realized that, like, there's never really a reason to get to a point where we're incredibly desperate, like, with our experiences in life and not being able to understand and just being in an incredible amount of pain and suffering extensively. And a lot of us experience that because we're asking for help from the wrong people, and some of us actually need help from a mental health professional. And to that end, when, like, me going through my process with my therapist, I realized that there's just like self-care things that I need to do, right? And so, like, my Sunday routine, you could sum it up and say, oh, this is just self-care, and you would be absolutely right. But what a lot of people don't take the time to do is to figure out the self part of care, right? So that, like, self-care, self-love, these are words that get thrown around, but if you don't understand yourself, you won't know how to care for yourself. And, like, I understand myself enough to know that I benefit from prepping my outfits. I benefit from prepping my food. I benefit from visualizing an ideal day. I benefit from, you know, planning. I benefit from that because I know myself. But if you don't know yourself, how can you practice self-care? That getting to a place where you're actually truly practicing self-care and practicing self-love, for some, begins with a therapist, which is one of the reasons why, and I say this every time I bring them up, I'm so excited to partner with BetterHelp, because they are affordable, online, licensed therapists to support you in dealing with whatever it is that you're going through in life. And I have the link to BetterHelp if you want to try it. It literally, within an hour of you filling out the questionnaire, a licensed therapist will reach out to you, contact you, and begin the process of you digging through any, if any, emotional, psychological, or mental things that may be preventing you from being able to move into a space where you are practicing super high quality self-care. The sixth thing that I do is I visualize my ideal day. And if you've ever worked with me in any coaching session, I pretty much take every single coaching client through an ideal day, and I spend 5 minutes every Sunday to visualize my ideal day and just pull in more details and get really, really clear about that. It's a very simple practice. I don't have to be in a certain spot. I just take 5 minutes, some deep breaths. I go into like a light meditation, and I just visualize what I want my ideal day to look like. And then after I visualize my ideal day, then I look and I search for some sort of content. Usually it's like a documentary or a movie that really supports some of the details of my ideal day. So I'll give you guys a quick example. When I was on a trip to go to Rwanda, Africa, the flight is fairly long, and so you get in-flight movies. And so there was a movie called Joy with Jennifer Lawrence, and it's a movie about a woman who invented something, but she has all the, like, you know, family drama, expectations. You know, she had this idea, and, you know, it didn't take off right away, and then it did, and she had to just really, like, get to the point where she stood up for herself and she honored her values. She loved on her family, but she also allowed herself to become successful, and that required some very hard conversations. So that was a movie that I first watched a couple of years ago last year when I went to Rwanda. Was it last year? I can't remember if it was last year. I think it was last year. Last year when I went to Rwanda. And so every now and again, I'll just rewatch the movie, like, depending on what I'm visualizing in my ideal day, because I know that in my ideal day, in my ideal life, I'm going to have to be able to have tough conversations in order to be able to honor the level of productivity and production that my company is going to have, the level of success that my company is going to have, but then also the integration of, like, friends and family inside of my work, because I do have a dream of, like, integrating some of those things. And so that's a for example, like I'll maybe go watch that movie because it speaks to some of the details of my visualization. Or maybe I'll watch a documentary about like Steve Jobs or something like that. Like he has this global company, like he literally changed the face of the planet with what he was able to do through Apple. And so on Sundays are really the days where I like try to dive into stories like that, because it just is so invigorating and exciting, and it really helps me to be able to connect to the possibility of all of the things that I want. And I just make time to do that every single Sunday. The seventh and final thing that I do on Sunday is I relax. And so not that these other things like pampering myself, reviewing and all that aren't relaxing, but I really make a conscious effort to just be like, you know, because after I've done all this, right, like I look good because I just cut my hair and my skin is all soft. You know, I feel good because I've reviewed my week. I planned for next week. I have all my clothes and stuff ready. I've done all this visualization. My food is prepped. So everything is like stirred up to the point where I feel good. And in that feeling, there's this desire to like, well, I'll just dive into work today. Like I'll just start doing stuff today. But what I know is that rest is something that's incredibly important. And so rather than me taking that energy, that fresh energy that's coming from like resetting and recharging my week, rather than taking that and just doing more work because I can, I'm like, no, you're going to intentionally spend the rest of the day relaxing. You're going to let all of that momentum, all that juice, all those feel-good feelings, you're going to let them stir on the inside. You're going to let them build up, and you're going to take that into your week, and you're going to allow the rest of your Sunday to truly just be a day that like you relax. And if that means I read, if that means I watch, you know, TV that is like, you know, purely for entertainment, you know, if that just means I talk on the phone to my friend all day long and we don't talk about anything, like I just relax. And as easy as that sounds, it is not easy. Well, it used to not be easy for me to relax because my mind is like a million times a minute. And what I find is, one, all the steps before give me so much energy to just dive in. But then two, I'm a thinker. Like I love to think. And so learning how to just let myself be and just like relax, and like, you are not going to do anything is what you're going to do. You're going to figure out how to not do anything. It's like that, my friends, is a feat in and of itself. But it's sort of how I close out my Sunday routine. So I have enjoyed this video and getting a little bit of a glimpse into a day in my life, especially what my life looks like on Sunday. I just deeply appreciate you all for supporting my work. I know I say that all the time in all the videos, but that's just because it's true. And I really look forward to talking to you all very soon.